Hello and welcome to the Code Sprint. My name is Peter Baumann and I'm going to brief you about coverage datacube standards. So, coverage, you may have heard that term before. Actually, it is like a field in physics. Think of it as a magnetic field, something spatially extended and possibly varying in time. These are typically sensor data that are acquired or simulated data like weather forecasts. Technically, such coverage data are modeled through regular and irregular grids, and that is what we call datacubes today, or point clouds, or geometric meshes. The structure actually is very simple. The coverage consists of a domain set, that is the coordinates where actually is something happening, the range set, that is the data payload, and a range type which has been adopted from the sensor web enablement to allow a seamless, lossless transition from observation readings to downstream services. Additionally, we find a black bag that can hold any type of metadata that might be relevant, such as for Inspire. Okay, if you encode that in XML, then it looks like this, for example, and you find these structures again here. You easily see the domain set, the range set, and the range type. Oh, you prefer curly braces? Then we have a JSON encoding of coverages for you. And yet another one would be in WCPS. Now, those who know WCPS, the Web Coverage Processing Service, may remember, hey, that's a Datacube query language. Yes, and it's one that is based on the coverage model. And so a query contains the textual description of the output coverage. That means it is human readable and it's very compact and avoids all that encoding garbage of other formats. So again, you find in this coverage that is constructed a domain, a range type, and a range. That is standardized in ISO and in OGC and based on OGC WCPS. So for encoding coverages, we have a lot of options. In a single file, we can use a textual format like XML, JSON, and so on. Oh, be careful, coverage JSON has the name coverage JSON, but it's not compatible. It has been developed independently from the coverage standards. But then we also want to have binary formats that are more compact. GeoTIFF, NetCDF, the common suspects. This is actually where Jimmy would come in. And as we want to have both textual conciseness and binary compactness, you can do that with multi-part container formats, where you have a textual header and then a number of files that can be binary for compactness. Okay, that can, as a container, use multi-part MIME, zip, or any common container format. That tells you something important. CIS is not yet another data format, but it's an interoperable way to use your favorite format in services for storage and for exchange. So in summary, this coverage data model consists of spatio-temporal grids, read datacubes, point clouds and meshes, and the central standard for this is now coming to the standards, the Coverage Implementation Schema, or CIS. That is identical to ISO 19123-2 actually. And accompanying that, we find a set of standards that are tuned towards coverages to be more concise, to have more semantics, more functionality, and be more efficient. That is the WCS API, and that is the WCPS query language that we have seen. And in summary, we find that OGC and ISO are in sync with the coverages. We have the coverage concepts and terminology that are paired. We have the data structure with CIS. And here actually ISO has just done a new version that is now coming back to OGC and processing based on OGC WCPS. Good. How is that relevant for GEOINT? Well, because these standards support multi-domain GEOINT and FMN information fusion in a way that we find support from any source to any consumer anytime. The standards give interoperability and flexibility on a large number of formats that always bear the same semantics, and in combination with the services, you find advantages that have been demonstrated, like low or zero coding, location transparent federation, cloud edge integration, AI on datacubes without algorithmic overhead, and security. The SkyFit and FairGeo projects are actively working on that and pushing that. So about the code sprint, well, geoimagery, it's all about datacubes. We have multi-terabyte services readily available for you. And what can you do with this? Well, we would be curious to see what cool stuff you can do with WCPS queries on coverages, but also critically review the documentation and suggest improvements, suggest extensions, future work, whatever. And that is the overview. Thanks a lot and have a great sprint.